Hey everyone, welcome to this week's car review. This week I am reviewing an Audi Q5, which you might say, first of all, why are you bothering with the Q5, Nick? It's been out forever, there's nothing special about that. And secondly, you don't even like SUVs and crossovers, Nick. Why are you bothering? Well, there's two reasons. First of all, this isn't just any Q5, this is the turbo diesel Q5, which may be common in Europe, but is very rare here in the US. And I think this is by far the best Q5. Secondly, I wanted to take a drive of this car because I drove the diesel Macan earlier this year. You can have a look at that review here. And I love the diesel Macan. It is a beautiful car, and the engine really suits the Macan, and it really is one of the nicest SUVs I've driven. And so this car shares the same engine, of course, the same architecture, a lot of the same DNA. And so I wanted to see, is this just a bargain basement version of the Macan, or is this quite a different car? And we'll answer that as we go on. But yes, the Q5 has been out for a long time, and if you go to any upper middle class suburb of any big western city anywhere in the world, Q5s infest the roads. They are a wildly popular car. Audi have really done a great job with this car, and it shows in the sales and how popular they've been. But they have been out for a while now. In 2009 they were released in the US, and so they're coming up for a complete renewal. In fact, this year we're getting the new Q7, the big SUV from Audi, which the old Q7 was a nice car, but it was just too heavy. It didn't matter what engine you put in that car, it always felt heavy, and they've really done a lot of work to lighten that up. And the Q7 has a whole raft of great new technology in it, and so I've got a Q7 lined up for when they release it later this year, so I'll be looking forward to reviewing that. But in the meantime, we'll have a play in this little Q5. The Q5 probably won't be refreshed this year or next year, probably the year after. They normally have about a 7-year cycle on these things, so it's coming up to 7 years now, so we'll see a Q5 probably towards the end of next year. Okay, so let's start with the most important thing. What's it like to drive? Well, as I said before, I was kind of interested to compare this car with the Porsche Macan diesel that I drove earlier this year back in New Zealand, because of course it shares so much with the Macan. It shares its architecture, it shares a lot of its DNA, and of course this particular one shares an engine, so it should be quite similar, but it's not. I think, and the reason for that, I think, is because obviously the Macan's a little newer, and it's designed to be designed for a slightly more sporty audience, I think. What's different is you don't get as much feedback in this car. It's a very quiet car. The steering wheel is, you don't get a lot of road feel back in it, but most of all, you get a bit more body roll in this car. You take a corner in this car, and while it's not excessive, there is definitely a lot of body roll compared to what the Macan had. The Macan had very car-like handling, whereas this is definitely more on the SUV side. Not that it's that bad, it's still a small SUV, but it's carrying that 4,000 plus pounds around, and you sit quite high in this car. Compared to the Macan, you're really up looking down on the road, which I think is what people that buy a Q5 is what they want, and that's why Audi designed it. They wanted a comfortable, quiet SUV-like car, and that's really what this is. So yeah, very surprisingly different than the Macan, considering how much it shares in the Macan. Not a bad thing, but yeah, it's certainly not a sporty SUV like the Macan. It's more of an SUV, if that makes any sense. But yeah, still a nice car to drive, and very, very smooth and very economical. A lot of the reason it's so economical is because, of course, that diesel engine. So, why the diesel engine? What's so special about a diesel engine, Nick? Well, there are 4 petrol engines to choose from and 1 diesel engine here in the US, and no one buys the diesel, and it's a real shame because, as I said before, it's the best engine. Why is it the best engine? Well, let's start with the boring part, the fuel efficiency. It is the most fuel efficient engine in the range, and we're talking including the 2-litre turbo and including the hybrid. Yes, you'd think the hybrid would be the most efficient in the range, but no, the diesel actually beats the hybrid in fuel efficiency. And secondly, it's the easiest to drive and the most enjoyable to drive. Having all this torque down low, just you can launch away at any time, and it just makes the car easy to drive. And then thirdly, you know, it is such a smooth and quiet engine. You know, I'm cruising along now on a quiet road. I'll shut up for a second. Doesn't sound like a diesel. It's got that sort of deep rumble. It's quite quiet. It's really a great engine. If you guys are considering getting a Q5 and you can afford the diesel, get the diesel. It simply is the best engine. And then of course there's the range topping SQ5. In Europe you can get the diesel version, but here in the US you can only get the petrol version. And sure, it's got 350 horsepower, it's the most powerful, it's the fastest. But once again, it doesn't quite have the torque that the diesel engine has. I would still buy the diesel engine. It just really suits such a heavy vehicle as the Q5. You know, it's a lovely, smooth, easy to drive, fun to drive engine. So yeah, that's the engine. That's why I think really quite astounded that no one buys the diesel. It is by far the best engine. Okay, so next let's pull up here by the little red barn and we'll take a look at the interior and exterior styling. Okay, so let's start in the interior. You know, Audi interior is always beautiful. I think Audi makes some of the nicest interiors anywhere in the car industry, and this is no exception. The only thing I can fault about the interior of this car is that there's a couple of little things that are starting to make it look a little dated. You know, this car was introduced 60 years ago, so you can expect it to start to look a little dated, even though it still has the beautiful Audi switchgear and lovely Audi wheel with the controls that are so intuitive, and you know, the nice MMI layout. It's a nice interior. What's the cues that are making it look a little dated is this tiny little 6-inch nav screen. Even though it's the lovely Google Maps and all the lovely stuff you get with MMI, 6-inch screens are starting to look a little out of place in modern cars, strangely. The other thing is, front and center is a CD player. Who uses physical media anymore? And underneath the CD player, even stranger, are the two SD cards. Hello, 2001. But nowhere to be seen is a USB port. The thing that everybody needs and wants is a USB port, either to charge their devices or to play their media through. This car does not have it. You can, of course, get the little media cable to plug your iPod in. But yeah, no USB port. And here, under here, there's a power socket, a cigarette lighter socket, so you can plug an adapter in there for USB. But yeah, what century is this, Audi? Why are you putting USB ports in your cars? Craziness. But otherwise, yeah, nice interior. The dash is the lovely white with red dials, signature Audi, Volkswagen, which I love. But yeah, I think it's starting to need a little bit of an update soon, but even as is, it's a lovely interior. Audi do a great job. Even Audi's leather is very nice, much better than the standard BMW leather. And of course, this car has the optional panoramic sunroof, which runs from the front all the way to the back. It is a huge sunroof. Let me try and show you with the camera here. And it's got a little shade that runs the whole distance as well. But yeah, that's about it. You know, the interior's got plenty of storage space, both in the center and in the doors. The layout works so well, and you know, I think Audi does a great job. A quick note on the HVAC stuff. The way Audi does HVAC can be a little confusing. You know, sometimes it's a double button press for things like if you want to change the fan speed, you actually got to press the fan. It pops up on the screen here, and then you can adjust the fan like so. So instead of just pressing one button, you've got to press two, which can be a little annoying. But no, it's still a nice layout. So that's the interior. We'll pop back into the rear seat and take a look there as well. Okay, onto the rear seats, my friends. And unfortunately, this car is infested with great apes, which is a bit of a problem in these areas. William, you're going to have to jump out here. Go frolic in the grass, my friend. Frolic in the grass. Okay, in we get. It's nice back here, hey Albert? Yes, plenty of leg room for me, and I'm 6 foot tall, and just about enough headroom. Can you see that? My head actually hits the ceiling in this car, but if I put it over here, actually it hits that as well. So no, not quite enough space in the rear for someone that's 6 foot tall. It sort of slopes back here. I guess that's the crossover. That's why they call it a crossover. It's because it's slightly sloped at the back. But yeah, not enough headroom for tall people, but plenty of leg room. Otherwise, not many amenities back here. Once again, no USB port, but hidden away under here there is a little flap which has got a power outlet, so I guess you could put a power adapter. But yeah, nice back seats, nice leather, just not enough headroom unfortunately. Let's roll around and have a look at the trunk. Okay, let's take a look inside the trunk, or the boot, if you come from where I come from. Open, open my friend. Ah, more apes. So, despite the apes being back here, it's a little bit of a trick. There is actually no third row seats in this vehicle. I remember my sister asked me when she was looking at a Q5 a while back, can I take seats in the back, Nick? You can put small kids back here, but it's not going to be safe. Yeah, no room for third seats, and that's true of the Macan as well. These smaller SUVs or crossovers are really a 4 or 5 person car. They can't fit people in the back. But that said, there's still plenty of room here in the back for luggage and so forth. So it's not a 7-seater car, but it's got plenty of room for the 4 or 5 passengers and luggage. Okay, onto the exterior, and up front here you've got Audi's signature silly grille. Actually doesn't look too bad on an SUV. On the cars it's starting to look ridiculous, but yeah, I noticed I've started to black out these where the plates go these days, so it's not as noticeable. But yeah, I'm ready for Audi to change that silly grille. This car's got the 19-inch wheels on it, and of course it's in the black. The black makes it a little harder to see the curves, but it really is such a cute car. I love the dimensions of the Q5. The rear end is not as, I guess, not as sculptured as the Macan is. The Macan has just got a beautiful rear end, but it's still a pretty nice looking car from the back. Twin pipes, this car's got a tow hook, of course, and the racks on the top. But yeah, a really nice looking car, and I think the looks of the Q5 are a big part of why they sell so well. It's such a nice looking little SUV. Okay, let's stop up here for a moment and talk about competitors to the Q5, of which there are many. Obviously, small SUV, crossover, whatever a crossover is, a very busy and competitive part of the market. But yeah, there's a lot. And if we look at the premium cars, the one that I love the most is the Porsche Macan. I think they've really hit it out of the park with the Macan. Of course, the Macan starts at about $51,000 here in the US, so it's a little more expensive than the Q5, but of course you get the 350 horsepower engine for that much. But yeah, anything Porsche is going to cost you more. As soon as you put any options into that Macan, it's going to skyrocket in price. So probably closer competitors are the BMW X3 and X4, which I've driven a few of, and they're very nice cars. I like the look of them. They've got pretty nice interiors, maybe not up to the same standard as the Q5. The only thing about the X3 and the X4 is they've got pretty hard seats and hard ride. That's probably my biggest problem with those cars, but yeah, they're similar engines, specs, and similar cars in a lot of ways, and similar pricing as well, so probably the biggest competitor. The other one is the Mercedes-Benz GLC, which is the new replacement to the GLK. Never a big fan of the GLK, the sort of the boxy mini SUV of Mercedes. Was always sort of underpowered and had a pretty bland interior. So I'm hopeful that the new GLC will bring Mercedes back into the market. I'm sure they will. I've heard really good things about the GLC. And of course then there's the Lexus RX, which is just horribly outdated and just a boring, dull car to drive, and that's due to be replaced this year as well. So hopefully something great from Lexus as well. So those are the main competitors, and of course this Q5 is due for replacement in about a year as well. So as soon as that comes out, hopefully I'll get a drive of that, because you know, as good as the Q5 is now, could do with a little bit of an update. Okay, so my conclusions on the Audi Q5. Well, you know, it is a lovely car. I can see why they're so popular. You know, it's a really easy car to drive. It's a nice size. It's nicely laid out, and Audi just does a nice job with the interiors. But all is not perfect. You know, I'd love to see in the next edition a little bit more feel in the steering. But I guess it's not that important. You know, this car is really designed to be a comfortable, economical car as opposed to a more sporty car like the Macan. So I guess that's the steering feel is more in fitting with a comfortable car. Yeah, my only other complaints, as I said before, could do with USB ports, and some of the more desirable features like the frontal collision warning and some of the other safety features are only available if you get the premium package and then the options on top of that. That's just crazy, Audi. Why can't we get some of the nice features in the lower packages? Why do you have to go all the way up to the sort of $50,000 model and then add the $3,000 safety package or technology packages on top of that? They should be available throughout the range. So that's a bit of a gripe. My only other thing is nothing to do with the Q5. It's the Audi website here in the US. It is such a stupid website. When you go on there, you can pick which trim level you want for your car, but it gives no clue as to what you're getting for that trim level. Somebody slap the Audi marketing people around for me. But otherwise, yeah, a nice car. I'm surprised that it's so different to drive than the Macan, but then I guess it is it's for a different market. And once again, if you're looking to get a Q5, please consider getting the diesel. Do yourself a favor and get the diesel. It's the most economical. It's got the most torque, which means it's the easiest to drive and the most fun to drive. It's a no-brainer. The diesel is the best engine for the Q5, hands down. So consider the diesel, fellow Americans. Be a little different and get the best engine. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. The Gorillas and I will see you in my next video, and we'll probably see you next week. Thank you. Bye then. Some of you might have noticed this is the first video I've successfully used my drone in, and I'm hoping to get more scenes with the drone in future videos.